Welcome to Reimagine Communication. This is an unfolding dialogue between Liv Larsson and Rung. For 3 decades, they have explored nonviolent communication, not only as a way to navigate conflict, but as a doorway into something larger. What it means to be human, together. Here, communication is not technique. It is presence. It is listening for what longs to be heard. It is daring to stay open in the midst of complexity. These conversations are living questions about truth, about connection, about the courage to meet life as it is and as it could be. You are invited to listen, to pause, and perhaps to discover something new moving in you. Let's begin.
So we're back having a conversation, and this time it's something I'm curious about. You're about to, or you just finished a book.
Mm-hmm.
And when we read a book, we don't always think about all the work, all the learning, and like that happened before the book was created, kind of. So that's the conversation I want to have. So this new book is called, in English, The Compass of Needs, right?
Shame, vulnerability, and communication.
Exactly. And I know you wrote a book 2010 called Anger, Guilt, and Shame. And before 2010, you, of course, were curious about things on this topic. So I'm just wanting to kind of get a grip. Why spending so much time on a topic like shame? Like it's like 20 years you spend on this topic.
Yeah. Seems like a very long time for something that is so unpleasant as shame often is. But I have many reasons. I don't know which one to start with.
Yeah, but just answer the question. Why? Why
Well,
why are you interested? Like what's the big fuss? Why not only write one book? Why do you need to write 3 books? Like,
yeah. Well, now I can answer many different things, but one major motivation for me is that I see that when we struggle with this unpleasant emotion we would call shame, and we are supported, we are able, we are equipped to pause and notice. There are so many benefits. There are so many things that I see people grow in and learn and get, and I get a thrill out of that, seeing people grow and face things, being ready to, instead of making a mess of things, to stay open.
so you're saying that you would like, if I get you right, you would like more people to stop avoiding it, but seeing it, not seeing it as a problem, but see it as something that we can benefit from.
Yeah, because like the last years, I've seen shame have more and more space on the news as a cause for people's crazy behavior. For example, around sending money to someone else that says, I can make your money grow into a fortune in 10 days if you just send me all your money first. And then when it's clear they have been fooled, they keep denying it because it's so shameful. It's so shameful to be fooled, to maybe made a fool of. And then behaviors start from that that makes it worse and worse. And this is just one example.
Mm-hmm. So helping people or spreading awareness about other choices than just making bad decisions around shame. That's one reason why you find this interesting. Is that,
Yeah,
did I
yeah.
get you? Yeah.
And people's well-being, like I have from uh from my youth, I have at least two people that committed suicide that I when I look back at it now, I see that shame and the disability for them to hold shame, to cope with it, and with the surrounding to be able to support them with what they need to go through that shame. They wouldn't have committed suicide. So for me, shame and ability to handle it actually keeps us alive on all kinds of levels, including the very physical baseline.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like I've read almost all the pages in your new book, and one thing that kind of sticks out is that we kind of tend to avoid shame because we get some short time benefit. Like we avoid something uncomfortable, and at the same time we're creating a mess longer, like in the future, like a long term. Could you say, like, do you agree? But also, if you agree, can you kind of elaborate on that? Like, what do you? Yeah.
I agree for sure that, for example, a person that has done something and then someone else accuses them for having done that, and if they don't feel safe enough to say, yes, it was me, they might come up with a lie really fast or like a no, it wasn't me. And in that moment, the stress that they experience like becomes a little less, like they can calm themselves down. The other person says, well, I still think it's you, but okay, you're saying it's not you, and they might back off a bit. And then of course, if it was still the person that was lying, if it was them that did it, the stress is still there. And now maybe also the pain and worry about, oh, maybe if someone catches that I was also lying about this, it will become worse. And then they withdraw from the relationship. They stop trusting and they stop being trusted. And relationships break apart. And then I don't only talk about romantic relationships, but between parents and children, and between spouses, and between workplace scenarios.
Yeah. So, this new book, the Compass of Needs.
Hmm.
When did you write? When did you start writing that one? And and like, what's the reason? What do you want to? Yeah. What is the reason? Kind of. You already wrote two books
Yeah.
before.
So I wrote the book Anger, Guilt, Shame, Reclaiming Power and Choice, and I was so surprised that so many people seem to get what I'm saying, what I'm wanting to say in that book. Like people opening their eyes to certain ways of thinking, certain ways of holding ourselves, certain ways of relating. And I was already then using the compass of needs, but I didn't realize, I think, how much of a tool it is. And then I got questions, but people said, "Well, what about kids? Kids that feel shame. It's not good for them to explore their shame." And I would agree on that. That small kids are not so. It's not healthy for them to stay in shame for a long time. So they need to be held and accepted. And still, we can point out the things we don't like that they did. So I then wrote the book Unmasking Shame. And as I was writing that book that was supposed to be supporting for anyone that wants to connect with kids, it just grew and grew and grew, and it became like this monster book of 600-700 pages. And I realized this is way too much for one book. to hold. So I remember actually, I was out running and I realized, oh, it is actually two books. And this was maybe 5 years ago, 4 years, 5 years ago. So then I took out some of the material from the manuscript I was writing on then. So at least I've been writing this book for like 8 years, but it has also been like the unmasking shame was written on the way there.
So what did you learn? Like looking back now, like what didn't you know, or did something happen during the writing that you were kind of not expecting when you started?
Well, when I started off writing, I was still kind of carrying the idea that we are born with a certain set of emotions, for example, and shame was one of them. The I was looking into Sylvan Tompkins' affect theory, and I really enjoyed some of the findings and so on. And then I ran into Lisa Feldman Barrett, who is talking about how much of our emotions that is actually constructed. They're still as important, they're still as real, but they are constructed as a sense of it's a mix between thoughts, our body budget at the moment, our memories, uh, and our language and emotions then became something different for me than what I had in mind when I started writing the book. And that was problematic because I had to kind of go through everything I wrote and really consider what is it that I'm claiming here. And it was a good process too, like going from something uh, where emotions are things to that emotions are processes. Emotions are a moving, alive process in us.
What do you
That
mean?
changed a lot.
What do you mean? What is the difference then if I would see my emotions as things or as a process? Like, what?
There's a huge difference, and the difference is not, as I said, not in the the validity or the impact of the emotion, because most of the time we're not aware of this process for a good reason. But the difference is that when I know and notice that emotions are a process, I have much more ability to change things. It makes me more agile. It gives me more agency to notice things as what state was I in before I noticed that emotion, what kind of thoughts, what kind of am I actually hungry, and so on. So there are a lot of different things I can do, and what one big thing is the agency, like the change, the choices that are now at hands, in my hands is much greater.
So the later one, the relating to one's feelings or emotions as a process, sounds like you see that as more empowering than if I see them as things.
Yeah, yeah, much more empowering.
All right, that's cool. So that was one. Is there more things you learned or had to reevaluate while
It, for
writing?
sure, when I wrote Anger, Guilt, Shame, I was very like I was super focused on that shame is again a thing, and therefore a state where that would be the same for all of us, in all of life, kind of like this shock to our system, this stress to our nervous system.
You mean
And
to like the same for every people, like every person. So if I
yeah.
have an experience that I could assume that if you're feeling shame, that's the same as I have. Is that what you
Hmm.
mean?
Yes. And then I studied with Terry O'Fallon, who is looking into how human development appears not only during childhood, but also continuously through life. And I realized that, oh, there's a gem here in noticing that we are feeling ashamed of different things in different parts of life. And sometimes it's like something drags along. I'm still ashamed of something that other parts of me has outgrown in wisdom, kind of. But there's like a shadow part of me that is hiding, and I'm still ashamed of things that, for me now, 61, I don't need to be ashamed of them anymore. But they are kind of old. And I
Mhm.
realized that that is also a superpower to recognize, and to recognize in people around me, in accepting my teenagers that they are ashamed of things that it's so easy for me to say, but that's nothing to feel ashamed of. But for them, it's super real. They have a pimple on their face, and the whole world is collapsing, or they broke a nail, and they are so ashamed they won't go out.
Mm.
So, and that is real for them. It's a real threat for their belonging, um, until they have processed it and own it.
Cool. So did the book turn out as you intended? This new one, Compass of Needs.
What I didn't plan was to have as many exercises as there are in the book. And and I could have gone on because there's so many angles. There's so many different ways to get to know how we avoid awkward moments. And it's everything from when we are ashamed from someone else, and maybe not they're putting their shame on us, and we feel ashamed even if we shouldn't, because it's not us. Everything from that to when I'm shaming myself, or when I did something that I really regret, or shame around my body. There's so many places in life where shame comes in, and I just had to put my pen down, even if I didn't use a pen for writing it, because I could have created more and more exercises where this layer of us could have gotten known.
So it's more practical than you thought.
It's
Is
more
that like,
practical,
yeah?
yes.
Hmm. So
And it,
does that
yeah.
like practical for I so people who work with other people, like coaches, therapists, is it a book for them as well, or is it just for like I want to explore my own inner life and my relationship to shame or
Well, at one moment I thought, well, I don't want to write a fourth book on shame, because I was considering writing one that is just for personal use, and then one that is for coaches, therapists, and trainers of sorts. And but then I realized, no, they're going to be in the same book. So I would say it's for anyone that wants to know about their own inner process. It's about anyone that wants to be uh, supportive to others. And it also has a small part where, very small, because I wrote the other book, Unmasking Shame, on how we can reach kids with the help of the compass of needs.
cool. So who would you like then, like who would you like if you could decide or dream, so who would you like that read your book kind of?
Well, for me, it's a super tool for anyone that coaches people that get stuck in their own processes, where they are not able to say yes to their dream because they think they need to be perfect in order to go for it. It's for anyone that coaches people that takes on too much, that gets overwhelmed, that keeps saying yes to things all the time, and then they feel kind of depleted and overwhelmed because they cannot take the moment of saying no, and the awkward emotions like that.
Mhm.
So people who support people is my dream reader. Yes.
But if we look at the news, kind of what's going on in the world, is there a person that you're seeing on the news that you think of, oh, if this person was able to kind of navigate shame and vulnerability, that they would make different choices that would be better?
Hmm. I don't know. Do you have anyone in mind?
Well, well, politicians for sure, but I think they have special challenges being, questioned by people who interview them and stuff. But see like decision making people who make decisions. Would you say that shame could be making us make worse decisions?
Well, for sure, we're kind of covering up stuff. We don't want to be seen as a bluff. We don't want to be called out. And then we make a mistake, and then we try to cover that up, and then we make another mistake in covering that up, and then we want to need to cover that up. And of course, then people have a hard time trusting you if they notice that you're covering things up. It just, yeah, that would be, people who recognize that they don't know how to stay open and honest. And I don't do this as a moral thing. I don't think that's a moral thing if you're honest or not. It's a matter of capacity and knowledge how to how to be with that moment. It's hard,
Yeah.
especially if you're
It's
supposed
hard
to
to
be
be
a
human. I usually say.
It's also tough if you're supposed to be a leader, then you never do a mistake. You risk your position as a leader if you admit to a mistake. That is the worst, organization where the leader cannot make mistakes because everyone does. Like you are saying, it's hard to be human.
Yeah. But I mean, if people would listen to this, then wouldn't they say, well, but you can't be too soft if you're gonna take decisions and be a leader. You need to be tough, and you can't be weak or oversensitive. What would you say to them, kind of? I mean, you
Well,
have like 20 plus years of exploring this topic of vulnerability. So is there like a middle way, or do we need to be oversensitive to be aware of shame?
it's such a good pointer to and this is one of the things that I thought of when I was writing. Oh, I need to have a whole chapter on vulnerability. And because whenever we pause and notice shame, there is vulnerability. And then of course we can start blaming others for shaming us or for not being tolerant or accepting because I'm so vulnerable. I cannot take it that you even look at me with a hard eye, a dark eye, because then I'll break apart. And then, yeah, that's not the kind of vulnerability I think is good. So it's like when people deal with shame, I say, do it with people you trust because you are going to be more vulnerable that is good for you in a certain process. And then you don't want to be too open and then make shame have or vulnerability get bad press because there is a moment when I say, I feel shame. I am I am vulnerable and I can take it.
So you mean like in the beginning, if I start to explore shame, that it might be overwhelming until I get used to it. I learn how to navigate it. So go slow in the beginning, and then when we get more able, then it becomes more stable. Is that?
Yeah, and as we are allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and then making sure we have support And then realizing that, yeah, sometimes life sucks. Sometimes my needs are not met. Sometimes my need for acceptance or belonging is shaking. And can I hold that? Can I allow myself to feel that without blaming myself, without blaming someone else, without running away? Can I actually allow myself to feel that? And that's another process that I learned a lot from both writing the book, but also working with shame, that it's not about letting people off the hook when they feel vulnerable, but it's about being there with them and letting them put words to what they are experiencing, letting them put form into that, letting them use their bodies to express that, or and then they can start noticing, yeah, it's not so bad that my needs are not met in this moment. It's kind of interesting. What do I do in those moments? It kind of becomes more spacious inside. And this is another reason why I like to work with shame, is that I notice that people are instantly having more space where they can be more free to be more of themselves.
Yeah, on the topic of being more of oneself. So, knowing you a bit, now you've written this book. It's gonna come out any day now. So, is there another book coming that you want to write, or are you done writing books?
I'm not done writing books, but one that has been there knocking on my door, but not, I have kind of mostly held myself from starting to write it because I wanted this one to be out there. It's on self-talk. Like, what kind of self-talk do we need in different parts of life, in different situations? What does it mean? When do I need to kind of push myself? When do I need to empathize with myself? And so on. I'm not sure if it's going to be a book, but I think it will be.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have some more, more
So we
books
don't need
on.
to worry about you not writing any more books then.
No, I will write more books.
Oh, cool. So do we know when this book is gonna be out?
Uh, this summer,
This summer, summer of 26.
summer of 26. And I want to say a thank you to everyone that has already pre-ordered the book, and that people that I know will buy it, that has said they're gonna buy it as soon as it comes out. And just notifying people that whenever you buy one of those books, it supports me to write more. It's like, and it also supports me in keeping dreaming about putting books out there, that I know that people are buying them, using them, reading them. And that is it's such a mutual support that I experience in those moments. So thank you beforehand.
Yeah, yeah. Just continuing on that, it's kind of amazing that these concepts of books. Like you said, you've been exploring a topic for more than 20 years. So you take in the last 8 years, not every day, but a lot of time you spend on writing, reformulating, studying, researching a topic, a subject, and then trying to kind of condense it down into something that we can read. When I think about books in that way, that the book is not just the pages, but it's all the work to get to the pages, kind of. I read with a different kind of mindset.
Mm.
Um, so I appreciate you and everyone else who's writing books. But also I want to kind of be aware how I relate to books. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing because each book, or at least each book that I've written, and I think most people that write nonfiction, is containing so many other books, like the books I need to read and go into and question and so on. All of those books are part of my book. So all of those threads from other authors is there. It's beautiful. And hopefully my books are part of someone else's books that they will write afterwards, drawing on human wisdom that we bring forth in different ways. Books is just one way.
Mm, yeah.
Do you get curious about writing your own, Kai, when you hear me talk?
I have a lot of ideas, but then I know it's an art form to write.
Hmm.
That's a challenge. I wish I would have spent more time in school being interested in books as a younger age. Um, but I do enjoy you writing. You have written books for me as well, I would say. Most
Yeah, there
people
are
don't
many.
write books, and if they do, they write one or two. How many have you written now?
I don't know. As like after 20, I started kind of forgetting if it's 25, 24, 23. So I think it's 25.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll take credit for a couple of those.
Yeah, that's good.
All
I'm
right.
looking forward for us writing the book. We have talked about writing a book about feedback together, and
Mm,
like how to reach people with feedback. So maybe it's time.
yeah, maybe it is. But if you who listen to this want to find and check out Leaves books, I'll put links in the episode information on this episode for all the 3 books on this topic of shame. Cool. So with that, let's end for now and see you in next conversation.
See you.
Thank you for joining us in this conversation with Liv Larsson and Kay Rung. If you want to explore more of their work, upcoming trainings, or dive deeper into nonviolent communication, you'll find resources at www.frirelive.com. In the show notes, you'll also find links to books mentioned in this episode, as well as more information about our international mediation program and the Reimagine Communication program, designed for those who want to deepen their practice in mediation and bring nonviolent communication more fully into everyday life. Thanks for listening. And until next time, stay curious, stay connected.